I'm Alex, 33, and I thought I knew love. Sarah, 29, was my fiancée, my partner in crime, the reason I smiled every morning. 5 years together, countless memories, and a wedding for 150 guests meticulously planned. I was all in, paying for the honeymoon, cheering her on, dreaming about walking her down the aisle. Everything felt perfect until a single notification changed everything. It was late on a Saturday night. Sarah away in Vegas with her bridesmaids for her bachelorette. The city shimmered on my screen through Snapchat stories, her laughter echoing in filters and emojis. Then my phone pinged. An anonymous DM, no text, just 3 videos attached. My thumb hovered. Something in my gut twisted. Curiosity and dread waged war, but I pressed play. The first video was innocent at first glance. Sarah tipsy, laughing, glasses clinking, surrounded by her friends. Then a tall, oiled-up male stripper entered frame. My stomach flipped. Laughter turned to a little too close dancing. And then my blood froze. Sarah kissed him. Clothes moved. The camera shook, someone giggling behind the lens. My heart pounded, disbelief pressing down like a hammer. The second video left no room for misinterpretation. Just Sarah and the guy, alone, and in a full-on affair. No background chatter, no party vibes, no excuse for the heat on screen. My chest constricted. Every beat screamed betrayal. I replayed it once, twice. My hands shook. How could this happen? How could the woman I trusted, the one I loved, choose this night, this city, these people to betray me? The third video crushed any shred of denial. Sarah laughing, bragging to the group, "What happens in Vegas?" Her grin was a knife in slow motion. My mind raced, spinning through every past conversation, every late night she'd smiled and said, "I love you." I felt nauseous, dizzy, as though the floor beneath me had dissolved. I wanted to throw up, run, scream. Instead, I sat frozen, staring at the screen. Morning came with a pounding headache and trembling hands. I confronted her. Sarah, hungover, hair a mess, eyes watery, tried to play it off. "Just girls' night, babe." Her words bounced off me like hollow echoes. I showed her the videos. Pale as a sheet, tears streaking her face, she stammered, "It was a mistake. Drinks. Pressure. I love you." Her plea sounded rehearsed, desperate. She begged me to keep it quiet for our families. The world tilted on its axis. I felt shattered, like shards of glass pressed into my chest. My mind screamed, "Keep calm, think," while my heart shouted, "Run." I canceled the venue. Every meticulous plan for our 150-guest wedding evaporated in a text. "Wedding canceled. Sorry, everyone." The digital echo of my announcement rippled through friends and family. Chaos erupted. Her bridesmaids ghosted her. My mom called it a sign from God. The universe seemed to chuckle darkly. I couldn't stay silent. I posted on Reddit. The story exploded. 11K upvotes, comments firing in every direction. "She's trash. Run." "Dodged a bullet, bro." "Unbelievable, man." Sarah tried to spin her version to friends, her perfect image cracking under the weight of truth. The videos leaked to private chats. The charade ended. Even those who had defended her found no words. Karma was knocking loudly. The fallout didn't stop there. I discovered texts predating the Bachelorette. Flirty, playful, full of temptation. Weeks of betrayal, documented in green bubbles I'd never seen. One of her bridesmaids had tried to warn me, but I hadn't believed her without proof. Now, proof was brutal, undeniable, and viral. Sarah's reputation crumbled in private messages, group chats, whispers, and eventually, news across our social circles. Her family? Devastated in their own way. Her dad cut her off. Her sister called her selfish. Friends I thought were neutral now whispered, eyes wide with disbelief. Sarah was isolated, alone, and I was left sifting through the wreckage of trust, the debris of love. Reddit was unanimous. Cut contact, own your story, and don't look back. The advice stung, but it made sense. 2 months later, I'm learning to breathe again. Therapy helps. A new job provides purpose. Even dipping my toe into dating feels less terrifying, though scars remain. Sarah, alone, career hiccups, family tension, social embarrassment. Every warning, every whisper, every moment I ignored the signs came flooding back. I dodged a bullet, yes, but the pain lingers. The betrayal is a ghost that walks beside me. And yet, There's something exhilarating about survival, about knowing that the truth, when unleashed, doesn't just hurt the guilty, it liberates the betrayed. The wedding is gone, the illusion shattered, but I'm still standing, eyes open, heart cautious. And for the first time in months, I feel something approaching clarity. Sarah's mistake was catastrophic. My revenge? Life carried forward with dignity, a quiet, unstoppable justice. But this is just the beginning. The morning after the Reddit post went viral, my phone was relentless. Notifications, alerts, messages from friends, strangers, even distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Every ping felt like the universe saying, "See, you dodged a bullet." Some comments were funny, some brutally honest, and some almost cruel in their empathy. But the consensus was clear. Sarah had dug her own grave, and I was standing on the edge, watching. I woke up that day with the weight of clarity pressing down. No more denial, no more pretending. I could see the threads of deception weaving through the last few months. Mark's odd smiles at strangers, her sudden obsession with girls' nights, the little excuses that once seemed harmless. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. She had been playing a part, one I hadn't wanted to see. The truth was intoxicating in its clarity, but bitter in taste. By mid-morning, the fallout from my canceled wedding had begun. My family texted, called, and even showed up at the apartment. Some were supportive, others confused, and a few were judgmental, though none more than Sarah's relatives. Her father refused to answer calls. Her mother sent passive-aggressive messages. Her sister? She posted stories subtly hinting at the chaos, as if shaming from the sidelines could undo the damage. The private videos had leaked to her friends, and gossip traveled faster than wildfire in dry brush. Sarah, on the other hand, was a ghost in my apartment, still clinging to excuses. "It wasn't what it looked like," she pleaded, wringing her hands. "It was a mistake. You have to believe me." I wanted to scream, laugh, and cry all at once. The absurdity of her panic clashed with the evidence on my phone. I held my ground. "Mistake or not," I said, my voice steady. "The truth is out. The wedding is canceled. You've burned every bridge you had." Her eyes welled up again, but the fear behind them was no longer for my forgiveness. It was for herself. As the day wore on, the social media storm grew. Reddit threads multiplied, and news outlets picked up snippets of the viral post. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me with incredulity. "You're the hero," one said. "She's toast," another quipped. Even strangers weighed in, dissecting every angle, every text, every move. It was surreal, my private heartbreak now a public spectacle. And oddly, I felt a sense of vindication that no amount of therapy could have given me yet. I started noticing patterns in Sarah's attempts to save face. She messaged friends, trying to spin her story as a bachelor party mistake, claiming I was overreacting. But the leaked videos contradicted her every word. The internet was merciless. Every time she tried to explain, the evidence hit harder, and each explanation sounded like a lie. I couldn't help but smirk at the poetic justice. Karma, it seemed, had impeccable timing. Her family's reaction added another layer. Her father, a man who had always idolized her, refused to answer calls. Her sister, always the loud one, publicly shamed her on social media, emphasizing selfishness and lack of accountability. It was brutal. But as I watched from the sidelines, I felt no glee in cruelty, just a calm satisfaction that the truth had leveled the playing field. Sarah had created a castle of lies, and every brick was crumbling in public view. Through it all, I kept one secret tucked close: the bridesmaid who had sent the videos. She had tried warning me earlier, but without proof, I couldn't act. Now, thanks to her courage, I had ammunition, clarity, and a chance to rebuild my life without the weight of deceit. I thought about sending her a message of thanks, but decided against it. Some heroes thrive in the shadows, unseen but decisive. By the second week, the new reality had set in. Friends who had been neutral or unsure rallied around me. Conversations turned to strategies for moving on. One friend jokingly suggested I start a karma fund for future weddings, laughing at how bizarre life had become. I laughed too, though it was brittle. Humor was the only way to survive such a betrayal without becoming bitter. And yes, there was bitterness simmering, but it was under control, a simmer, not a boil. The internet continued its role as a magnifying glass. Every attempt Sarah made to patch her reputation backfired. A DM here, a flirty comment there, and someone posted screenshots. Evidence piled up, confirming patterns I hadn't even known existed. I realized how deeply she had entangled herself in deception. It wasn't just a one-night affair. It was a slow, deliberate unraveling of trust over weeks. The magnitude made my stomach turn, but also clarified my path forward. Meanwhile, her social and professional life took hits. Invitations to events vanished, colleagues whispered, and even distant acquaintances treated her differently. Reputation is fragile. She was learning it the hard way. And through it all, I stayed quiet, letting the world witness her own choices. My revenge wasn't shouting or confrontation. It was simply letting reality speak louder than any argument. By the end of the month, I noticed a change in myself. The anger had not disappeared, but it was sharpened into resolve. I started therapy, focusing on boundaries, trust, and self-respect. I picked up a new job, one that challenged me and reminded me of my worth. Slowly, I started feeling human again, capable of laughter, capable of love, and capable of moving forward. The lesson was clear. Betrayal hurts, but survival builds character. Yet, every so often, the past crept in. Notifications, memories, even songs triggered flashes of that Vegas night. I imagined Sarah laughing with him, imagined the whispers of friends trying to warn me before I had proof. It stung, but each pang was a reminder of how far I had come. I wasn't helpless anymore. I had witnessed deception, felt the sting, and emerged stronger. The story was mine to tell. As I scrolled Reddit one evening, seeing updates on discussions, comments, and reactions, I realized the ultimate irony. Sarah had tried to spin the narrative, control perception, and maintain power. Instead, she had handed the world her own downfall on a silver platter. I sat back, coffee in hand, a smirk tugging at my lips. Karma was sweet, not because it punished, but because it revealed truth in the sharpest, cleanest form. As Sarah scrambled, trying to regain control, I felt something I hadn't in months. Freedom. Freedom from lies, from deception, from the fear of betrayal. It was exhilarating. The wedding was gone, the heartbreak raw, but my life was untethered. And in that untethered space, I could finally plan my next steps, on my terms, with my dignity intact, and with the knowledge that truth always finds its way. A text from her appeared. Sarah was reaching out again, desperate. A call, a message, something she hoped would mend what she had destroyed. But I knew now that not every plea deserved an answer. Not every mistake deserved forgiveness. The next move, my move, could change everything, setting the stage for a final reckoning she would never forget. I stared at the phone, thumb hovering over the screen. Do I reply? Ignore? Make her beg a little longer? Every option pulsed with temptation, but I reminded myself, patience wasn't passive. It was power. I brewed a cup of coffee, the steam curling like smoke signals of the chaos she'd created. Each sip steadied my mind. I wasn't going to rush. She had spent years trying to manipulate, deceive, and control, and now the script had flipped. I held the pen. The first move had to be precise. I didn't want to publicly humiliate her just yet, not until the timing was perfect. I dug into the messages, the videos, the proof she couldn't deny. Each piece stitched together a tapestry of lies, painted in her own hand. I mapped it out carefully, plotting when and how each revelation would land. There was a rhythm to revenge, I realized, a kind of dark choreography, and I was ready to dance. I started with subtle nudges, comments in shared friend groups, subtle references in posts, a picture here, a story there. Nothing that screamed exposed, but enough to make her anxious. And it worked. Within hours, I noticed the change. Her posture in group chats stiffened. Her responses became defensive. Her friends began questioning her versions of events. She had always thought she could charm, smooth talk, and gaslight her way through any storm. But now, the storm was coming for her, and she had no umbrella. Then came the golden moment. I emailed her closest friends a carefully curated timeline, proof, messages, screenshots, all the pieces that confirmed the Vegas betrayal. No drama, no embellishment, just cold, undeniable facts. Their reactions were instantaneous. Whispers turned into questions, questions into confrontation, and I watched from a distance, savoring the unfolding chaos. Karma, I thought again, wasn't just sweet. It was theatrical, and tonight, it was center stage. Her desperation grew. She sent private messages, apologized, begged me to let her explain, but I didn't respond. Silence became my ally. Every unanswered message was a nail in the coffin of her carefully constructed image. She had built her life on perception. I was dismantling it, brick by brick, without lifting a hand. The most potent weapon in betrayal's aftermath? Indifference. And I wielded it with surgical precision. A week passed. The fallout was catastrophic for her social standing. Mutual friends distanced themselves, unsure who to trust. Her family, once blind to her flaws, began questioning her choices. The private group chat where the videos had leaked buzzed with gossip, sympathy for me, and outrage at her audacity. And all the while I stayed calm. My life, previously tethered by heartbreak, now had wings. I could breathe, I could laugh, I could plan a future unfettered by lies. Then, the final act. I invited her out for closure, a neutral cafe, public enough to avoid drama, private enough to have my say. She arrived, frazzled, makeup smudged, eyes wide with fear and hope. She tried to smile. I let her. Let her taste the illusion of normality for a heartbeat. Then I spoke. Every word measured, deliberate, cutting deeper than shouting ever could. I gave you years of trust, love, and commitment, I said. You threw it all away for a fleeting thrill, and now the world sees what you really are. I slid a folder across the table, screenshots, messages, videos. Her hands trembled as she opened it, realization dawning like a storm breaking. She looked up, mouth agape. Nothing I could have said would have hit harder than the evidence she held in her own hands. Tears spilled, but this time they weren't enough. Her attempts to explain fell flat. Friends she had tried to impress now knew the truth. Family who had shielded her were forced to reckon with reality. The illusion she had relied upon for so long crumbled. And I remained poised, detached, a conductor watching her performance unravel note by note. The symphony of justice was complete. She left the cafe defeated, the weight of exposure heavy on her shoulders. And for the first time in months, I felt a profound relief. Not revenge for its own sake, but clarity, power, and the sweet vindication of truth prevailing. I sipped my coffee, watching her disappear into the crowd, and smiled. Life had flipped the narrative, and I was the author now. Every lie she told, every secret she kept, every betrayal she attempted, it all led to this precise, satisfying conclusion. Days later, life returned to its natural rhythm. I focused on myself, new hobbies, new friends, and even considered dipping a toe into dating again. The scars remained, but they were reminders of strength, not just pain. And somewhere, Sarah's reputation, carefully constructed over years, was nothing more than a cautionary tale. Reddit comments still echoed, "Karma's wedding gift. Truth always wins. He dodged a bullet." I read them, nodded, and closed the laptop. The story was mine now, fully, untarnished. Freedom had a flavor I hadn't known since before Vegas. Sweet, sharp, unforgettable. And as I looked forward, I realized one irrefutable truth. Life is richer when you own the narrative. You can forgive, you can heal, you can move on. But never forget that the pen, the power, and the final word always belong to the one who refuses to be a victim. That was me.